Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you all so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you're commenting on our episodes. I really appreciate somebody popped in and commented last episode, I think, about something we talked about. Look, we're going to talk about a lot of things today. Please hop in our YouTube comment section if you kind of have a rebuttal, you agree, disagree, it doesn't really matter. Pop in there and comment because it does help kind of get our video into other people's on other people's feeds. So it's season 5. Once again, the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Are you looking for the best local salsa on the shelf? You got to grab Two Men in a Garden salsa next time you head over to Schnucks. It's made fresh with simple ingredients, and man, does it taste great. I love it. Pete loves it. Whether you got the chips out and you're dipping, whether you're making tacos and you want a little topping, or you're putting it in one of your many recipes that calls for salsa. I don't know if there are recipes that call for salsa, but this salsa is the one you should grab off the shelf. They are here to elevate your mid-game snacking. Visit them online at twomeninthegarden.com to shop your favorite flavors and learn more about their many products, including Kitchen Hub. Don't forget to follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter for the latest with Two Men in a Garden. Pete, I think here's my thing. I've watched this team. I think we need to follow what apparently is the 2024-2025 Billiken playbook and really just mail in the first half of this episode.
That's fair, Zach. It's fair.
It is infuriating to watch a game, and we are going to talk about it. But I tweeted out that if this team plays average basketball in this game, even in the first half, if they play average basketball and then do whatever they did in the second half, they win this game going away.
Yeah.
There's so many poor decisions, so many baffling choices. Players, I think I'm going to throw in the coaches as well, because there's stuff here that I just don't know what, whether the players aren't on the same page, or, a player inserted in the lineup that, after it's a lot, and it's a lot of frustration. I think for the entire fan base. And we're going to get to that. But first, Pete, we got to talk about the big announcement. And I did that, but I did the air quotes and I said it sarcastically, but I think in the grand scheme of marketing and what social media is for, I think this is a big announcement.
Yeah, I think it is, Zach. I was a little surprised to see some of the guesses as to what people thought the big announcement might be. Mm-hmm. A couple people very early on were like, it's got to be, jersey related. A couple people even mentioned the fact that it was, these jerseys. We kind of saw a little peek through the women's social media account at these earlier in the week. Somebody said, oh, I bet it has to do with those. But there were other people like, oh, is this the Big East?
I don't know if anybody said if anybody said that not as a joke. I have no idea.
I saw that somewhere and I thought you're either trolling or you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you just say big announcement, I guess it could be anything. And I don't know. I'm not mad at it. It's just a jersey, but at the same time, it's pretty cool.
I think it will. First of all, it's a big announcement for SLU Athletics because I believe this will be the first time that SLU women's basketball has a third jersey, and I'm not going to count the pink night jerseys. I'm not going to count that because those are one-offs for charity or whatever they're doing now. But this is the first time the women's basketball team has had an alternate. And Pete, this is the first time in probably since SLU switched to Nike that they've had names on the back of their jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have my Tyler McElraith jersey from early to mid 2000s, and that's a Rawlings, and I cannot recall them having Nike jerseys with their names on it. So this is the first year that actually was something that I don't think we recognized. I recognized and then forgot to put in the notes. But so it's exciting to see the women's basketball side of things get in on the fun as it pertains to, alternate jerseys and kind of names on the back, because that means something to people too. I mean, you play for the name on the front, but having your name on the back's cool.
Yeah, that's right, Zach. But I think the bigger thing is like these were immediately for sale for
Mm-hmm.
fans, right? Like it's not just, the fact that it's a cool new jersey for players and like, okay, you're holding it up now
Yeah.
in blue. I gotta say, from
It looks
from
sharp and
where
blue.
I'm sitting, it looks great.
Yes.
It's a great shade of blue, obviously. I like the script. Everything looks pretty fresh on it, I gotta say.
Yeah, and I'm about to share um the tweet, the picture they used in the tweet of the jerseys here. And so we've got Kellen Thames here, and
Hmm.
on they will be wearing the black ones, right, Pete? They not the blue ones. I don't know what their plan is
Yeah.
with that, and we'll get to the blue ones. But let's first talk about the black. Pete, what do you like here? What do you not like? I don't know.
So we've got the black jerseys. The script that says the Lou is all white. The number is in the font we use for numbers already, and it's a blue zero with a white border on it. So I don't necessarily love when the letters and numbers don't match in terms of,
Yeah,
both having the same interior and shading. I do understand that the lettering, the script lettering, is a lot narrower, so it's a lot harder to do.
yeah.
Otherwise, I like it fine. And then you've got the blue and white trim on both the jersey and the shorts. The
I
bottom of the
think that looks.
shorts
I
is
think
just
that
blue
just
trim.
sets. I think that blue trim sets it off, especially the shorts.
I mean, in a good way, like you
Yeah,
like it, or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I,
So
I, I like. I don't know. I'm the trim on this on the top. I could take it or leave it, but I think with the shorts, with it right on the bottom, that blue really pops off of that black.
mhm, yeah. Yeah, on the in the top, it's almost like a little too much white,
Yeah,
compared to the shorts. But overall, I think it's a good look. I like these a lot. I want to see them in a game before I, fully judge how much I like them.
yeah.
What do you think? How do you like the blue compared to the black? Do you have a preference for one or the other?
You know what? I mean, I know they're not going to go with the blue like for the game. Like they
Hmm.
already have a blue jersey. They're not going to just do another blue alternate. I just don't. It's hard to see. I was surprised that they put out a blue version of the jersey.
Hmm.
I would have, if it was me, I would have maybe stuck with the black and just done the black jerseys, and then instead of the blue jerseys, put out some accompanying merchandise. So
Oh,
some
I see.
polos, and you can maybe do that in blue. Some shirts, hat maybe. But I would have focused on kind of the stuff around it, because again, not everybody's gonna wear a jersey. Not everybody's weird like me.
Hmm.
Some people are more like you, and yeah, I thought the only real miss, and of course it shocked me that they had these ready to go, because I mean we've talked about it before with the Billiken shop in Chaffetz Arena,
Hmm.
that the turnaround time, that's always been the thing he has talked about, the turnaround time, and then um or the lead time you need to get them, and then
Right.
the amount you have to order, the minimum order. So I was shocked that these were ready to go the same season they were dropped. That's a big step forward for the athletic department, I think, to be able to do that. By the way, when I stopped in to pick this up, and I'm probably going to take it back, because not because I don't like it, but because the bookstore has the black back in stock. They actually sold out of the black, and I want the official, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I just think that if you're gonna sell replicas, it's just got to be a replica of the thing,
Right.
not necessarily the blue. But it's a nice, heavier material. Um, somebody asked us why the jerseys were more expensive than the NBA jerseys, and if you look at the NBA jerseys, the authentics are 200. The
Yeah.
Nike Swingman, which is the basically this version, this level, this price point is the
Right.
same. And then of course they have the Fanatics ones that are, I think, 85 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and the Fanatics ones obviously are not branded with a Nike logo, which is kind of part of the whole deal. But
Right.
I again, I was surprised that that they put out the black ones for sale, and I thought they probably could have gone with just external merchandise. But
So
other than that, they hit the nail on the head. I think with that black jersey right there in front of you.
no, it's all screen printed, right? So the black ones that they are selling.
Yes, I believe all of them are screen
Okay.
printed. Yes.
Yeah. And does that seem like it's pretty good quality? I know some people were a little surprised by that or at least wanted the more sewn on look.
It's raised. It's definitely raised.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I think it's good. I like it. It's not. What were the last ones? Sublimated? Were the
I
old?
don't know.
I think they were sublimated.
Okay.
But yeah, I see no problem with them. I dig them, and probably was easier because this is not a custom. Uh, it's not a custom template.
Right.
So when you look at I don't have them in my background right now, but if you look at the Billiken jerseys now, that arch means it's a custom template.
Right.
So there is something to be said about a clean jersey and its availability to fans. Um, instead of having a super unique jersey with little details and then it's not available to fans right away. But yeah,
Right.
I think this is a big win for Billiken Athletics. And like I said, I think I'm gonna go back and try to get the black jersey. I just like to have the specific. But yeah, by the way, shout out the bookstore. That the lady who's been in there for like 20 years now that's
Yeah.
run that, fantastic. Love seeing her every time I go in there.
Nice. Yeah,
Um,
I gotta I tried to get in there over Thanksgiving, but my hours just didn't line up with theirs, unfortunately.
um, the men will wear the jersey first on January 3rd against St. Joe's, and the women will debut them on January 5th against Davidson. Billiken Athletics, if you can get merchandise in for that game, like, got to get some the Lou hats, got to get some the Lou shirts, polos,
And
hoodies.
assuming that that might be part of the plan going forward, I think the jersey is the right first step. If you're only
Yes.
going to have one thing to roll out initially, I think the jersey's got to be the right first thing. And then as people kind of get attached to it, it's like, all right, let's start seeing that script on some other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it would take off. But honestly, it seems like a pretty good sign that the black ones have already sold out.
Yeah, I think so. The blue ones were kind of left, kind of unattended.
Hmm.
Nobody really was going after the blue ones, and I mean, I kind of get it. But yeah, I hope they see that the black one sold well and they take the correct lesson in that yes, when you put out something that rocks, people are going to buy it. I mean,
Yeah.
don't look at the blue sales and be like, "Well, the blue didn't sell." The blue didn't sell because it's not what the players were wearing.
Hmm.
And when you buy a jersey, that's really what you want. And I think that's one of the things that where the NIL store kind of, it's tough. It's tough
Yeah.
to go in and buy something from the NIL store that you know is not the kind of thing that that SLU wears on the court. So,
Right.
did I mention that the women will play Davidson wearing them on January 5th?
Yeah, on the 5th, right? So they're
Okay,
t
good.
2 days apart. They will make their debuts.
So yeah, I think it's probably worth it if you're a Billiken fan. But definitely, I would pester the athletic department for some different kind of merchandise with the Lou on it.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Lou, Pete, we no longer have one of our two St. Louisans on the roster, and this was a shock.
Yeah, Zach, we got a bombshell on Thursday afternoon when we found out that Larry Hughes II would be leaving SLU. From what we can tell so far, it sounds like it was his decision and that the staff was surprised. He wasn't, forced out or anything like that. Just kind of, based on the early rumors. But this leaves an already depleted roster spread even thinner. He missed the last two games with a sort of back tailbone injury that he suffered in practice before the San Francisco game. Zach, this I don't know. I don't know that it was 100% out of left field. I think he would have liked some bigger minutes, but I still did not see this coming, especially mid-season.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of it. Honestly,
Hmm.
it's definitely not a great look for your program when a player leaves midseason and the team is struggling. That's certainly odd. It certainly doesn't, you know, it's not a good endorsement of your program.
Right.
That's just, again, I'm not saying I know how this went down, but perception is reality on social media, in the media, in the traditional media. So yeah, I'm bummed about this. I thought, you know, I just I don't know, man. It's a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So he played 65 games in 2 years, 2.5 years. He started 28 games. This season, he averaged about 4 points per game and about 14 minutes per game. It's kind of interesting. Billiken fan 7. I'm forgetting the name on Billikens.com. Didn't seem that upset by it and said, it kind of reminded me of Marcus Bartley. And I was like, Marcus Bartley. So I just out of curiosity looked up their stats, almost identical in terms of what they produced at SLU. In their years here, Bartley played 64 games, so almost the same, and they put up really similar numbers in really similar minutes. So that wound up being an interesting comp, whether he knew how similar statistically they would be or not. I think they're a different kind of player. I guess the point is this was not like you know, he wasn't a starter. He's not a star player, but now we have 14 minutes to go around.
Mm-hmm.
We have one fewer players on the roster. Like we said, that's already completely depleted. What do you think we're going to do with these minutes now, Zach?
Well, we did learn today that Dionne Warwick it has been called it. Dylan Warwick, sorry. Yeah, got that one wrong. Uh, he was called into action today, and we're obviously
Hmm.
going to talk more about that. But Picard, McCautry, they need minutes. Kobe Johnson came back from injury,
Hmm.
or whatever's going on. Just get these all guys, like these guys all have like a dedicated room at SLU Care, right?
Yeah, at this point, yeah, they've got to have just like a red phone in the locker room that goes right to the doctors at the way that they're banged up. I guess um, we can get into the Illinois State game in a minute,
Oh,
and
oh, we are.
so yeah, I guess we got our answer on Warlick, like you said. I guess they're going to make it agreeable and worthwhile in terms of his
Which
playing
is a
time.
little scary that you're all but guaranteeing some playing time for a freshman
Yeah,
when
especially one.
there are freshmen on the roster that have done there's a freshman and a sophomore on the roster that have played admirably in the minutes they've put up. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but they're different players, they're different positions.
I really don't know what Warlick is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, right. I mean, like he was the wild card coming into this season. He's, I guess kind of a three, if you were to look at a traditional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of lineup. I think he's like a little bit of an undersized forward, oversized guard, kind of a, you hope in the best case scenario, maybe a Dwayne Evans type to borrow a comp from my friend Joe.
That
Like
was not what I saw today.
not to say he's Dwayne Evans, but like that he does those kind of the kind of things that Evans did in his career here in terms of matching up and his production and everything. But Zach, there's some real I think we're not losing a ton, like we just said, in terms of production out of Larry Hughes, but there are some other considerations here that you got to
Absolutely.
wonder about. And number one is just that we lose a healthy player. Like the roster's down and out so much already, and losing a guy who Yes, he was a little banged up and missed a couple games because of that injury, but by the standards of our roster this season, that makes him one of our healthiest players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know if he was healthy because they did talk about, I mean, there was talk that he had been dealing with some injuries and just was like, okay, it's not working for me. I don't know. But certainly we are now down another player to an already depleted bench, and it just feels like another kick in the nuts.
It does. Yeah, I mean, I have to kind of question that a little bit here. Like, does he not look around and think there's opportunity for me here right now? Like that's I really without knowing what those conversations are like. To me, it's just like really weird timing. Like I would look at that like I'm not playing as much as I want yet, but like we're just one or two more guys dropping before I'm a starter here, and
Yeah.
playing 20 to 30 minutes a game or more. So that's where I kind of question this is like it just it felt like if you can be healthy enough to play here this season, why not?
Yeah. Why leave? Like where are you? I mean, I guess like what does that change if you leave now?
Yeah,
What is it changes nothing, right? If he goes now, he can't play anywhere. If he leaves it and he can play net immediately, there's no waiver. Like
right.
what's the harm in staying, I guess. Unless you're going to do something completely not college basketball.
Yeah, I have truly no idea. The rumors start flying around based on like who Larry Hughes might be friends with in the coaching ranks around college basketball, but yeah, I just don't really
If
know.
if Larry Hughes too is going to a school where Hughes's friend is a coach, like that to me is kind of not the like that's just that troubles me, I think. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
That's the move.
Right.
Um yeah, I don't know. Obviously his legacy, I mean, there like I said, there have been he is the first SLU men's basketball legacy player.
No, no, we've
Well,
had
I'm sorry.
others.
I'm sorry. Well, Luchterfelds, right? So,
Yeah,
my point is I was wrong, but my point is that there have not been more than a handful.
yeah, right. It's a pretty rare thing, and especially when your dad has maybe the best single season in our
Yes.
program's history. Like, and he was a freshman, top 10 NBA pick, like one of the best basketball players to come out of St. Louis. Period. And I don't love the look of that guy's son leaving halfway through his career
Yeah.
here, right? Like that's even though nobody's going to live up to their dad's legacy when he's done all that Larry Hughes did. Like that's a really really high bar that no I think it would have been unfair for anyone to expect him to live up to that sort of thing. And hopefully no one did, but it's still not it just doesn't feel great when like one of the players, especially in the modern era that we're proudest of, his son transfers out.
Well, what if I changed the equation and said Larry Hughes transfers at the after Travis Ford or after Josh Schertz was announced as head coach? I mean, that's essentially we are possibly looking at an extension of that decision.
Hmm.
This could be Larry thought he was gonna be able to play a certain role, or the
Yeah,
other way around. It could have been that, you know, Larry was promised a role and he didn't get that role. Or I mean there are all sorts of things where Larry Hughes makes a decision at the when Josh Schertz is hired,
right.
and then he realizes that that's not this isn't where he wants to be, and that's okay. I understand it a lot more than a guy like say this was this Larry Hughes's, I don't know, third year under a coach, a single coach. I think then you look at it like, okay, what happened here?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think obviously him leaving in the middle of the season is troubling, but I mean, it could just essentially be an extension of him
Yeah.
not feeling it's a good fit anymore.
I think that's, I mean, if that's the framing, it's less troubling because it's like, okay, we actually did give it a little bit of a trial
Mhm.
period rather than just run off immediately. You could look at it that way and it didn't work out. But the shame of it is, it doesn't sound like it was coming from the coach's side, right? It
Yeah,
seems like they still wanted him or felt like they needed him still. So, I
we do
don't,
need him.
I don't know what else is going to be out there for him. I hope he finds a good situation. Of course, people immediately are like, well, he can still stay local and go to like a Lindenwood or SIUE and score up, score more. But I don't know. I mean,
I
like,
just don't care. Like you
yeah,
leave, I don't like. Again, best of luck to Larry. To I just don't care where he goes.
it's going to be hard for him to sort of transfer up or laterally somewhere and he just has limitations as a guard. And I think he really, and I've talked to a lot of people about this. Again, shout out my friend Joe for talking about this a lot
What's
recently,
up,
but
Joe?
like he needed to kind of embrace that 3 and D role, right?
Hmm.
And it seemed like a lot of players these days like kind of get that idea that they can come into college and develop as like a combo guard or even a point guard and like they look at the NBA and think like, yeah, I'm going to be a big point guard or
Hmm.
it's not that simple. Like that's a very different skill set. And I think guys have to do a better job of understanding what their assets and what their limitations are, like what their physicality is and what their skill set is and where that might have a future both in college and the pros if that's possible.
And
And
I think
I
that
don't know how realistic all those people are. I mean, when I having seen him play a number of times in high school, I mean, mostly
against Chaminade.
yeah, and others, but like having watched some of those games, like he was never a point guard. He's a shooter. He's a shooter, and he needed to work on his defense, and he needed to become more consistent as a shooter, because he was pretty streaky, and that carried into college. So, I obviously hope him the best, but like he's just gonna really have to work on his defense and find a more well-defined role, I think.
Yeah. Um, I don't want to talk about this game. This was so bad, dude. This is frustrating
So
because
as we record, Zach, this game ended less than 2.5 hours ago.
I'm
It's
not ready to
Sunday
talk
night.
about it yet. I've been hurt.
It's
It's the wound is fresh.
yeah, I was just gonna say that. It's the game on Sunday the 15th was an 81-77 loss at Illinois State. Zach, Illinois State scored first and never relinquished the lead, no matter how close SLU made it at the end. But early on, it looked like there was no chance whatsoever of this being a close game. Illinois State got out to a 22-point lead, their largest of the game, with a score of 38-16, with just under 6 minutes to play in the first half. The halftime score looked a lot better than that, but
Hmm.
basically SLU got in a gigantic hole and had to get out of
Did,
there the
did
rest of
somebody talk about holes last episode?
the game. You did. I mean, again, not a reference that I know a whole lot about.
You know, a Louis Sachar novel? A Louis
Sure.
Sachar novel you don't know about?
I don't.
Oh my God. It came out in 99. You were like a young adult at that point.
I was 16, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
man.
fine. Fine.
But we got into a great big hole in the score in this game. And
Yeah.
I need you, Zach, to break down how we got there. Because yeah, I don't know.
It's really it is unbelievable for a Josh Shirts team who is, I mean, Shirts is a offensive genius, or at least that's the reputation, the ethos, the mythos, whatever it is, with
Mhm.
Josh Shirts is his offense. And there are so many plays in this first half where we made Illinois State do negative work on defense. Negative work. They went on runs without doing a damn thing. 3 straight missed Swope 3-pointers, ill advised, on at least 2 of them. Uh, ill advised drives to the hoop by Swope. This team does not need to. I'm going to talk about Swope. I'm going to talk about Swope because I think he, and I also think Avila too, but Swope is just, he was once again the guy that buried this team with bad decisions in that first half. He shot 3 threes in a row over a span of like 2 minutes. And I would venture to guess that none of them were really great 3-point shots, or he was holding on to the ball the entire possession and took a shot. And then he obviously drove to the hoop 2 or 3 times in that first half, and he just got his shit stuffed.
Right.
And it's not dangerous. Like, yes, players need to move when he drives, but at the same time, you're 5'11". You have to know your limitations here. You have that little pull up jump shot. Mm-hmm. If you're missing 2 threes in a row, if you miss 1 3, maybe don't do that again. Right. Maybe don't come right back down the court and try to shoot yourself out of it, because you're shooting us out of the game. Avila, kind of the same way. Avila was we'll get to Avila, but Swope playing that 1v1 for the entire possessions and not coming away with points. Like I said, it gives teams free stops on defense. Again, they're getting a turnover and they don't have to do anything to earn it. I don't think Illinois State earned that 22-point lead in the first half. I felt like SLU gave it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not impressive at all on the defensive end from them. I mean, maybe they stagnated our motion, but to me, it just looked like we stagnated ourselves. And once again, you have Swope with the ball in his hand way too often. Way too often. It's infuriating. If Swope continues to make these decisions and not, if he does not have that Isabel-like turnaround midseason, we're going to keep inexplicably going down 10, 15, 20 points in games against good teams and not be able to come back.
So let me ask you this, Zach. Do you think this was confined to the first half and that they just put it together later?
I don't think they put it together. I don't know what they did.
You don't think they put it together at all? Because
I think they put it together. I just don't understand why. Like, none of this there was no, it didn't look like they were trying. There was no motion. It was like half the time it was Swope going 1v1 or Robbie pulling some terrible 3. Gibson is struggling to get open. I don't understand the stagnation in an offense that's coached by Josh Schertz. Yeah. It's incredible and stupid, and it needs to stop.
Because the point I'm getting at is that there's just such a disconnect, right, between you talking about how Swope is taking all these bad shots and he's 6 for 10 from 3 and finishes with 22 points and 4 assists. And yes, he fouled out, and yes, he had 3 turnovers, but
I would count those drives of the hoop. I mean, the drives of the hoop, there were 3 of them. That's 3 possessions gone. Turns it over 3 times. That's 3 possessions gone. He takes 3 of those 4 3-pointers were just him dribbling up and shooting it. I'm so like he digs holes. He digs holes and then has to go ape shit to cover his ass.
Yeah.
I understand.
It looks.
I understand how it looks because I watched that second half and said, "God damn it, he's putting lipstick on this pig, isn't he?"
Yeah. And then Robbie Avila, 28 points.
Again, what I saw from him in the first half was I mean, Robbie Avila is just not the same player. Like he cannot defend, and when he is not playing well on offense, he like he can't be on the court, or where we need somebody who can actually play defense in the low post and block shots. Anya's not that guy.
Yeah, and it seems like Avila is really it's slow starts, Zach,
Yes,
right? Like
like I
it's
said, get him there 45 minutes earlier.
yeah.
I don't understand it. It's I mean he threw the ball in the backcourt. Uh, he it's it doesn't help that his appearance is that of a nonchalant person.
Mhm.
Like he just looks nonchalant in everything he does. And when you are turning the ball over, when you're not making shots, it is incredibly frustrating. And he was just not good enough on offense in that first half to justify being on the floor when he is a horrendous defender. And they started that game with 3 layups. 3 layups.
Yeah,
You know how many layups we got in this game? Not
not
many.
many. Yeah.
Points in the paint. What were they?
Points in the paint, 36 for the Redbirds, 22 for the Billikens.
And
Yeah,
I would
not
venture
great.
to say none of, maybe 2 layups that I recall. Um, I just don't like the defense is just horrendous. And when your best player on the court is unable to defend anyone, um,
Right.
you gotta produce on offense, man.
So one of the things, Zach, middle of the first half,
Yeah.
Dylan Warlick comes into the game.
Yeah.
And I know you are all aboard the Max Picard train.
Yes.
Warlick winds up in his first appearance with 6 minutes, and Picard only registers 2 minutes in this game, and no stats or anything like that. He just
I believe he only played that last 2 minutes of the game for defense, which we had trouble doing in the first half.
so why do you think he went with the debutant over somebody who has, kind of shown us a little more promise already this season?
I half of this is me convinced that Shirts is just putting these guys in holes to prove a point.
Hmm.
I no, I'm kidding, but I really don't know why. I mean, maybe it was for a big body that could defend against their big man. But that was Robbie's assignment, and he did okay in the second half.
Hmm.
But I really don't know. Obviously, Warlick came in, got an offensive rebound, uh, went back up, got fouled, made 1 of 2, but didn't really do much after that. He looked okay. He looked
Yeah.
like he could. He looked like he belonged, but I mean, I don't know what his role really was or what his kind of directive was out there. I would have liked to see more Picard. You have a guy who showed you something in that previous game. I love that he went with Brockhoff. I thought Brockhoff deserved more minutes in that second half, and I wasn't happy with that.
10
Um,
minutes, 3 points. Yeah,
he made a he made a really nice pocket pass.
Mhm.
So I mean, there are things that Brockhoff and Picard can do that Robbie can do, not as well, but again, their defense is imperative, and we get off to such bad starts in those first few minutes of games because our defense is so bad. Teams just light us up.
So what's going on here? Why is this happening? These slow starts that we have to dig out of over
I
and
was gonna
over and over
ask
again.
you, man. I don't know. Okay, like there's two things that can well they could be both for real. Like let's be honest. There's scouting and game planning,
Hmm.
and then there's players not being ready to play. And I don't know if this team is going in and getting kicked in the teeth and then just folding, um, or if the players aren't ready for whatever the other team's going to throw at them, and
Yeah.
then they lose faith in what they're supposed to be doing. Um, I don't know if players just don't really feel like playing that day.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, one of the things that I do want to point out here is that it seems like this Illinois State team with Ryan Pedon as the head coach seems to kind of get Shirts and what he's trying to do. That was a 13-point loss at home for Indiana State last season, right? So when these coaches went head to
we're
head,
getting
and
better.
they only faced each other once last year. They went head to head last year, and one of the two guys who went off for them today, Kinzinger, had 31 points in that game. So there's a little bit of a common thread through those, right? Like they got out to an early lead in that game. They had a halftime lead. They built upon that in the second half. And I do wonder if there's maybe kind of a style clash here too. I know we see everything through a slew lens, but I do want to give them credit. And a guy who didn't really do much in last season's game when they faced Indiana State, Chase Walker, had 27 points in
Is
this
that the
game.
big guy?
It seemed like he just got kind of whatever he wanted inside, right? Like,
Brockhoff, please. Anybody stop somebody inside, please. That
yeah,
is, I could give a shit about what we do on offense if we can't defend. I
hmm
mean, what it's free. We're giving these teams free buckets, I and free turnovers, and it's just this team is killing itself.
yeah.
Look at this game. Look at that second half, Pete. What's the disparity? What's the point differential?
In the second half,
Yeah.
SLU 46, Illinois State 38.
I just, I mean, we like, and not to even mention or late in that first half, we closed the gap. If we show up for that 10 minutes, we win this game. And
Yeah,
we're not having this conversation.
yeah.
So,
You're
so there's something there. But what is, and I believe Shirts in a quote after the game said, there's a commit level inside the game that good teams have that we don't. It's on me to try to find it. Uh, yeah.
Well, I think another common theme is we're also seeing we're getting beaten inside, right? That's part of it. Like teams know to punch if you want to punch us in the mouth, you've got to do it inside first. And
Yeah.
when you look at Chase Walker, a guy who is every bit of 6'9", 270, is what he's listed at, got whatever he wanted at the rim. It always bothers me a lot, Zach, when the guy who goes off on another team is a big and not a guard, right? Because it means like there might be something more structurally problematic than just a guy going off, right? Because I've seen games that SLU has had where even when you're playing good defense, there are nights where a guard's going to hit like 6 threes on you, and it's just his night and it's not your night kind of thing. But when a guy goes 10 of 15 all at the rim and then keeps going to the free throw line and gets offensive rebounds and stuff like that, it's like there's okay, it's more of a team problem here. Like we're doing
Yeah.
something wrong here. Like that's not just it's not a guy getting hot, right? It's a guy getting what he wants where he wants it.
Yeah. And I mean, again, that's Robbie Avila. That's your guy.
Yeah.
You're on him. Like you have got to find a way to stop him. You've got to find a way to show up, not foul out, and play on offense. It felt like Walker came in, took Robbie's lunch and his confidence, and it took till the second half for him to find it.
hmm
He got punked, and he's been getting punked. And it feels like when he gets punked on defense in the first half, he turtles. And I feel like this team follows suit.
Do you think this is an underlying weakness in his game, or do you think other bigs are just trying to take advantage of the fact that they know he's a little ginger,
No, I think he's just
on
not
that
good at
ankle?
defense.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not like
Yeah.
I could I have all the confidence in the world that I could beat him on the post.
hmm
All the confidence in the world.
I mean, I'd like to see that play out, but sure, sure, sure. I think we're seeing a lot of other people play pretty confidently against
Just a
him. So
quick head fake and I'm gone. And that's up and under, it's over. I don't it's bizarre. Obviously I'm being facetious, but what the hell are we doing? It's infuriating because if you take these games and you extend the way we played, the thing is, if you take these games and you take the second half
Mhm.
and you even take 66% of what we did in that second half and in that late first half, and you put it for 5 minutes in that 10-minute span,
Mhm.
we win this game. This Illinois State team is bad. Not good. Like they
They
can
can
shoot,
score. Yeah, right.
but I do not know. I believe two people said in two different places that this Illinois State team is booty on defense. And I was like, okay, I sit down, I'm ready to watch the game, and we can't score.
Right.
And there's not a lot of getting good open shots. There's not a lot of movement. It's stagnant. You've got players shooting 3 shots in a row that none of them kind of get close.
Right.
The best part of the whole broadcast was that we actually had adults on the commentary. That was fun to at
Yeah.
least have
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody with experience. So yeah, just really really bad decisions. Just continue to haunt this team, and it haunted them down to the wire in this one. Pete, Billikens are down 38 seconds to play. Illinois State has the ball. They come up the court. Anya guards closely, tries to go for some steals, doesn't get it. They get across half court, and 7 seconds different on the shot clock. We get a stop. It's game on. Anya fouls the guy intentionally at half court, 40
Yeah.
feet from the hoop.
Right.
Is that on Anya? Yes. Is that on Shirts for not being explicit that you do not foul in this situation? Yes.
Right.
It's this there. There's a disconnect between the players. There's a disconnect between the coaches and the players. Is there a disconnect between the coaches? I don't know. But there's something that is not clicking. I don't think this team can be all that in a bag of chips. But there's something here that we can make a run in conference.
Yeah.
The way they played in that second half was great, save for some defense and rebounding. But if you're going to score like you do in the second half, or at least partially like you do in the second half, then defense isn't going to be that big of a hamstring. It's just I don't understand whether it's motivation or whether it's coaching, and I think it is a come to Jesus moment that has to happen at some point here.
Yeah.
With
I mean,
Swope, with Avila, with Jimerson, with Shirts, with this entire team, where they have to say, we are going to trust the process no matter what.
right.
Because I think there's some of it is that a lack of trust somewhere in there. Whether that be between the players in Shirts, the players in Avila, the players in Swope, the players between each other, not named Avila and Swope and Jimerson. So I really don't know what to say anymore. I'm just rambling at this point.
I think the last point that I would make on it is just like a sports season, a basketball season like this is such a there's a fine line between a successful season and a season that completely gets out of hand, right? And it doesn't take a whole lot to go wrong for things to kind of snowball a little bit, and all of a sudden the season's gotten completely away from you. And I
Yeah.
know I've said it before on here, but that's what my senior year was when we had 9 wins, 2004, 2005. Soderbergh thought we would actually be pretty competitive that season, and being in a tough league and playing his style, you knew it was going to be a lot of close games. We went 1-12 in close games, like games that I would call close games that were either 6 or fewer points, or that went to overtime, or both. We were 1-12 in those games, and even if you go 500 in those, well, there we are, 500 on the season. And we did that with basically our whole senior class injured, right? and you could just feel it. You could just feel the things going wrong, sensing the things going wrong. We had a disastrous tournament in the Virgin Islands to start the season, and all of a sudden things just really got away from us. And it didn't take much, right? So I, I just want people to realize like this many injuries with a new coach and these circumstances. And I don't want to just say we can write it all off and it's
No.
fine and we can overlook the mistakes or the decisions or anything like that. But we have a much finer line now, right? So some of those mistakes and decisions you might be able to get away with if you've got a roster that's full strength, or if you won a couple of games early on that instead of losing those. So I don't know. I'm extending them a little bit of grace, but that is at the same time in the context of a season that's certainly been disappointing to people, so far. Okay.
So one of the things that, has been talked about a little bit, I think Gaines tweeted it out and then Rocchio also echoed the sentiment, is this team plays a little too fast. I think at some time they thought at some points, and I think it showed itself in that first half, um, where it just feels like this team is getting the ball when they give up so many buckets and they don't get any stops, that when they do get a stop, they're so desperate to push the ball.
Mhm.
And I wonder if, there that there's that desperation goes into the scoring aspect of it too, where they give up buckets, they don't get a bucket. So when they get a chance, they want more than anything to get that bucket, and they just can't. They try a little bit too fast. They're going a little bit too fast because the sense of urgency creeps in a little too far.
Yeah, and that's something that definitely happens and definitely snowballs with a team that's
Yes.
kind of on the ropes, and that's a little playing a little bit more desperate. And yeah, it's not the kind of thing that you want to see from a team that is it doesn't signal a team that is composed, that's cool under pressure, that has what it takes to play its way back into games, to
Mm-hmm.
not cough up leads. So yeah, I mean that all makes sense. It's again the kind of thing that happens in a season that's not going your way.
Yeah, there were a couple occasions in that first half of just kind of a rebound that got away from you. You've got the rebound and then you don't
Mhm.
got the rebound and it's out of bounds, or a pass that is on your fingers and then you don't have it, or like the Robbie Avila to Swope back court, or the Swope to Avila backcourt. I don't know, one of the other way. I think it was Avila to Swope. But
Mhm.
and then again, late in the game, there were a couple of other opportunities where the Billikens just kind of gave the ball away, and it's it's ball security, but I think it comes from a place, like you said, of kind of a desperation to score and not being cool under pressure. And it just feels like this team, every time they're hit with adversity or pressure, they fold like a cheap suit for way too long, and it
Yeah.
just does not stop, and they keep sinking deeper into, as the great Shane Falco said, quicksand.
That's that's right, Zach. That's right. I do want to before we move on from this game, I do want to ask you about Kellen Thames. It looks like cramping
That was bad. Like I
reared
think
its
I
ugly head
I
again.
thought it was cramping. I think Jack Godar was hesitant to say so, but I mean it was pretty wild. It was
Hmm.
like the player drove the ball down the line, and this was backbreaking in my mind, and it wasn't backbreaking because SLU had a chance to go and win this game. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, he had a guy drive on him from the top of the key, and I mean, Thames tried to put one foot down and push off, and it just nothing happened.
Hmm.
He just went down.
Just didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like
Didn't
it
have it
wasn't
today.
like his leg folded or no structure. It didn't look like it structurally anything
Yeah.
happened, but I mean, I guess it could be a muscle. Like, have you ever seen really, really bad cramps? Like a really bad cramp in a leg where you can see the knot?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's kind of like I imagine that was the kind of pain he was in.
Yeah.
I don't know, but But again, they went to commercial and they surrounded him while giving treatment. So I couldn't really tell
Mm,
what was going on. I want to talk at the end of this about the officiating because I said on Twitter that the officiating did not cause the Billikens to go down 22, but this team would have overcome that 22-point deficit with about 4 minutes to go if it weren't for the officiating. I mean, certainly you cannot put this game in the officials' hands at all. This is a
right.
game you have to win going away, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
A 22-point deficit is not something the
it is
officials can do for
certainly
you.
frustrating when you cannot, you know, make it up. And I think, again, that's talking about the adversity and this team not responding well to it.
Hmm.
We've seen it many times where a foul goes the wrong way and then the other team comes down in an and one. What was it? I think Robbie scored a layup on one end, looked for a foul. They came down, or he didn't score. He either scored or didn't score. He looked for the foul on one end. They came
Yeah,
down, and then Robbie fouls him and one.
right.
So it's just, you have to roll with the punches. You have to play to the whistle, and you have to play to whatever the officials are going to call. And I thought the refs were just horrendous in this one. I thought their whistle was incredibly tight on Slew and not necessarily on Illinois State, but
Hmm.
it's a moot point when you go down 22.
Yeah, right. Fouls were 23-12 in this game. Some of that is,
We don't
the
we don't play
having to
deep.
make up a deficit, but 11 plus 11 is a little hard to believe.
Yeah, what was that first half? Because that first half was rough. We don't play good enough defense. We don't play tough enough defense to foul that many times in a half.
First half was
Like
14
14,
on Slew and
5 or 6.
no, sorry. So 23 on the 12 on Slew in the
Hmm.
first half and 5 on Illinois State.
I mean, I thought that first half was not too bad, but again, I thought any time in that game, I don't think
Yeah,
Slew is that tough of a team that we are fouling that often.
right.
Um, I don't know. I thought that there was a call that really changed the game was Swope poked the ball loose from behind and a foul was called, and it would have gone the other way. Um, did I talk about Thames when he cramped up? I mean, it looked like you could tell earlier in the game. Well, I don't know if you could tell, but I did notice earlier in the game when Thames stole the ball and he gathered it and then gave it up to Warlick on a fast break. That was odd to me at the time.
So
That
this was really just one where he just did not have his legs with him.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like he gave it up or he didn't have confidence in his ability to get to the hoop.
Yeah,
And I mean, that's a play that we've seen him do before Shirts got here.
right.
So it was very odd to see him do that. And then of course he went down with the cramp. And I think after he did not play hardly at all in that first half. He came in for like a hot minute, and then the half ended. I go, man, we didn't see Thames much at all.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what to make of this game, man. It is incredibly frustrating. Um, I I'm certainly not ready to give up on Shirts. I can see there's something here, but something's got to change on the defensive end. Something's got to change how we start games. I don't know what that calls for. I don't know. I just know that if we're not playing well and we're leaving guys on the bench that can help us on defense, what do we do? Like I want to see more of Brockhoff. I want to see more of Pikaar. Those are guys that can help us on the inside as well as pass and score. Maybe not again. I with the way Anya played in this one, man, I would like to see Brockhoff start the next game.
Yeah. Well, I mean that would certainly send a message.
I do. I'm all for messages, man. Again, hey, look, you put in Picard for defense at the end of the game, like I said. So, want to get just a little pat on the back. Um, Pete, what's going on? What's up next? I'm gonna find it hard to drag my ass out if it's cold on Wednesday the 18th. The way this team's going.
So they play Wofford that day, Zach, and Wofford's just 4-6. They'll play Charleston on Monday night, the day that this releases. Their best win is probably St. Thomas on a neutral court. They've got a few bad losses like Presbyterian and Portland State, but they are 3-0 at home. Duke held them to just 35 points.
They'll score 100 on us. I can't wait.
The head coach is Dwight Perry. He's currently 33 and 33 overall in his third season there. Wofford has been dangerous in the past. What was that, like 4 or 5 years ago, where they really had a good team? But so far they haven't been that dangerous with him at the helm yet.
Was it
That
Wofford where no, that was what was the team with the white guy? That went the 3 point. Was
yeah,
that Wofford?
that was Wofford.
With
Yeah,
what's his ass? The
I
guy
can't
who
remember.
went on and did Barstool Sports stuff?
I'll never remember his name, but
No,
I can
not
picture
Dwight
his
Perry.
face.
It's not Dwight Perry. I'm thinking of somebody else.
Dwight Perry was
That's
the is the
Oakland. I'm thinking of Oakland
Oh,
from
okay.
last
No.
year. Yeah.
Wofford had a dude on that team though who could light it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, they've got 2-6-2 senior guards, both in double digits. Corey Tripp and Dylan Bailey.
You almost said
Tripp,
Dion Bailey, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
Tripp is the point guard and he's the top scorer, 13.4 points a game. Bailey's the better shooter though, at just under 36% from three, and he shoots almost 7 3-pointers a game. They've got a 6'9", 250
Jesus.
pound senior. Yeah, I know. This is the guy who's going to be a problem. Kyler Filowich
Ugh.
is their center. He's averaging 10.4 and 8.6 rebounds to go with 3.3 assists, so he can pass it too. The Terriers, Zach, shoot over 33 pointers per game, which is 20th in the country, but they only make them at about a 32.6% clip. Um, Again, watch them go off against us because that seems like what teams do lately. They're a bad free throw shooting team. Interestingly enough, they don't get to the line much at all, and they don't make many, probably because they're generating so much of their offense from outside and not making contact inside. They're not a good defensive rebounding team, but they do actually grab offensive boards at a pretty
Is
good
that
rate.
is that because they're shooting long
I,
shots
I
and
think there's a little bit of that element here for sure. There's nothing particularly intimidating here. They're not bigger than SLU. They've got one big who we've got to worry about. They haven't won any good games. They don't score a ton. They're not like a stout defensive team. The risk here, I really think, is just that they get hot from three, right? They're going to shoot a lot no matter what. So you just have to limit their open looks from outside because, as Shirts has said this season, SLU's opponents are shooting a ridiculously high percentage from three when uncontested. So you just can't let them get open on the perimeter. And I think you win this game.
I thought we did an
Uh,
okay job in this game, honestly, defending the three.
well, Illinois State only took 17 threes in the game today.
That's because
So
we sucked on offense. Or
yeah, I mean,
sucked down low, I mean.
they shot 47%. So you don't really need to take more than 23s when you're getting anything you want
Yeah.
inside, unfortunately. But yeah, Zach, that's Wofford.
How about Grand Canyon? I mean, this is shaping up to be just a total beatdown the way we're playing right now.
I do not like this contest for us. That's for sure. Grand Canyon were kind of the mid-major darlings last season when they won 30 games. But they're off to
Yeah,
just
like
a
an Annabelle
six.
doll.
I'll have plenty more to say about Grand Canyon
The
as an
cult of the
institution.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I don't. Cult is not the word I would use. The scam of the Grand Canyon to
Sure,
me.
we'll go with that.
Uh, but yeah, Sunday the 2nd, Sunday the 22nd, SLU's going to be out there. Grand Canyon, of course, in Phoenix, not near the Grand Canyon, just one of the many scams that this school runs. But they are only 6-3 this season, coming off a 30-5 win last season. They've got losses to Arizona State, UC Davis, and Georgia, which was their most recent game. Between now and the SLU game, they'll also face Louisiana Tech on Monday and common opponent Chicago State on Thursday. It should be two easy wins for them, but hopefully, a little fatigue sets in because they've got more this week than we do. They've got a few good wins. Stanford, Western Kentucky are probably the best. Bryce Drew is the head coach. You probably remember he's in his fifth year at GCU. Again, coming off that 30-win season last year, he's got 100 wins overall there, 34 losses. So on the roster, four of their top five players are seniors, and the fifth is a junior. The sixth man is also a senior, so they've got loads of experience here. They've got two guys averaging over 15 a game. 6'7", fifth-year senior Tyon Grant Foster to go with 15 points a game. He's got 6 rebounds a game, 2.4 assists per game. He was the WAC player of the year last season. And then 6'7" senior Jacoby Coles also scores over 15 points a game, 5.3 rebounds, 2 assists. Those guys do a lot. But Rayshot Harrison is the point guard, also a senior, scoring 13.4 points a game and dishes out 4 assists per game. He recently passed the 2,000 point mark for his career in scoring, which started out at Presbyterian, I think, for 2 or 3 seasons. I want to say 3 seasons. 6'10 junior forward Duke Brennan missed the first few games, but he's back in the starting lineup and scoring almost 10 points a game. So a little more size to contend with there. They score over 80 points a game despite not shooting a ton of threes. They're actually below average in makes, attempts, and percentage from outside. They do get to the free throw line a ton though, and it's because they just have a really attacking downhill style. Pretty good size at every position. Those two 6 points are 6'7" guys I mentioned at the beginning. One's a guard, one's more of a forward, so that they create mismatches there. And obviously the 6'10" junior who I just mentioned, but the other guys they've got another 6'8" guy, and then just good size filling out their guard ranks in the rotation. They're not going to hit last year's win total unless they go pretty much perfect from here on out, which I don't think they're going to do. But this is still not a team to be taken lightly, especially on the road, and especially with SLU's lack of depth relative to theirs currently. As much as we make fun of Grand Canyon for being a BS school whose degree is worth nothing, they actually do get really good attendance from the students.
Because
What
they
whether
why?
that's organic, whether that's organic or not, because they offer some pretty nice incentives for them to show up. But whatever reason they're in there, and they make it a pretty difficult atmosphere to play in. So, this is just a really really tough road game, and we are battered and bruised and trending the wrong direction, and you really hope to clean up a lot of things against Wofford and hopefully get a little momentum and health going into this game because we're going to need it.
Yeah, I Grand Canyon sucks. I mean, it's all bullshit. It's smoke and mirrors. It doesn't like their atmosphere is bullshit. Like as much as there are certain people in the athletic department that want to fetishize the Grand Canyon atmosphere, it's not it's not replicable here. Nobody goes to SLU for the athletics except for this asshole right here. Um,
Yeah.
like you can't you like unless you truly offer course credit like Grand Canyon does to attend sporting events. You can't replicate that. This stuff has to happen organically. That's just I just wanted to editorialize there on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll have more to say, leading up to this game, but
it's a fugazi. It's not real.
it really is. I mean, yeah, it really is. You don't need to go very deep into Google to find a lot of stuff about that school. But anyway, we should probably move on.
Yes, before we get sued by the cult of the Grand Canyon University. Let's go around the A10. I'm gonna skip a couple results here. Uh,
Uh,
now let
the
Monday,
the only way through is through Zach.
Monday the 9th, VCU 66, Penn 47. Tuesday the 10th, Charleston 78, St. Joe 75, Davidson 75, Charlotte 71. The Wildcats win the Hornets Nest Trophy, whatever
Did
that.
you see this trophy
No,
by
there's a
any chance?
trophy. There's actually a
There is an
trophy.
actual trophy. This is the Battle of Charlotte, basically, even though
Yes,
Davidson's half hour north of there. It's a Hornet's Nest trophy, so it's like a bronze Hornet's
Hornets
Nest,
Nest.
which is
I
not,
can imagine.
yeah, in bronze it looks
It
more
looks
like
like poop.
it looks like poop. There's no other way to put it. It looks like naturally occurring
Poop.
poop that you would find in out in nature on a stick
I
on a
well,
trophy. It's
well, it's
very
poop.
weird
It's
looking.
poop on a stick, which kind of mirrors our basketball team right now. Maybe we deserve the trophy.
You said it, not me.
84-80. That's Brown over Rhode Island in 2 OT. Rhode Island's perfect season comes to an end at Brown. And which has now beaten the Rams 4 straight times, and they did it without Kaluanya. Wednesday the 11th, Maine 61, Duquesne 56. Friday, George Washington 75, Army 60. Uh, say the second one really quietly on Saturday. Just whisper it.
Okay.
Yeah, just whisper it.
On Saturday, UMass Amherst 86, UMass Boston 52, Boston being a lower division team. Not the flagship though.
No,
That's low.
that's
That's
Lowell.
Lowell, right? The second game, University of Dayton 71, number 6 Marquette 63, Fordham 86, Bryant 84. We don't need to talk about that previous game.
No, I
By
didn't
the way,
watch it.
credit to Fordham for pulling that one out.
Yeah.
That was nip and tuck there. UNC 93, LaSalle 67 in the A10's only loss on this day. St. Bonaventure 74, Providence 70. Kim English, a young man in a hurry, looking like kind of a pretender.
Yeah. Well,
Duquesne,
he texts and drives, so
that's right. Duquesne 65, Towson's 47, Belmont 93, Richmond 86, Davidson 86, Detroit 51, and VCU 76, Colorado State
is that still
68.
Eustace?
I don't think so. I'm
Oh.
forgetting who their coach is now, but yeah, that was at Colorado State, so that's a good win. Sunday, Sunday the 15th. I'm off on these numbers by a day. I have some Sunday the 14th here, but it's the 15th. Rhode Island 77, Central Connecticut 69, and then the last other game for the A10 this week was actually in Milwaukee in the Fiserv Forum, and San Francisco beat Loyola 76 to 66. Common opponent alert there, Zach. And kind of an interesting that was a result I was really interested to see after our
I
experience.
was, I'm not gonna lie. Like I've said, I have no qualms with rooting against A10 opponents. I just
Mhm.
don't care. Um, and I was very happy to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I have no issues, like the whole thing that sports fans do now and root for their own conference when they're not playing them because they think it's in their self-interest. I don't know. Have some pride.
Yes. Pete, we had a visitor on campus. I hope he did not watch the game today.
I don't know if he was still around, Zach. My thought would be probably not. But the kind of funny thing is the game actually happened a lot closer to where he's from, so maybe he did take it in on the way home or something. But this was Lincoln Williams. He's a 2026 6'6" guard from Kankakee, Illinois, which is kind of between Chicago and Champaign. He visited SLU on Thursday, so I doubt he actually went to this game. And he received an offer while he was on campus, so not just a visit, but a new offer. He plays his AAU ball for Mac Irvin Fire AAU, and he plays for Kankakee High School in up in Illinois. Really nice looking player, Zach. He's long, lean. He's got a 6'10" wingspan already. Really high level athleticism. Very bouncy, like up at the rim very quickly. And he's got this like long stride, can handle the ball, but he can also shoot it from the mid range and perimeter. I would say that's kind of in development. He's a little bit of a streaky shooter. His form's fine. He's got really long arms, so I think that's, call it growing pains. He'll get better. He's a top 150 player though. A solid kind of 4-star recruit kid, generally considered to be the best prospect in Illinois right now in the class of 2026. Other offers: DePaul, Illinois, Virginia Tech, TCU, Arizona State, UNLV, SIUC, Northern Illinois, Eastern Illinois, Western Illinois, and Bryant, who offers everybody. So pretty good offer list and a pretty nice looking player. SLU has been on him since I want to say June or July is when he first hit my radar anyway. So it didn't take long for the new staff to start recruiting him after they got here. I'm sure they were aware of him at Indiana State, but yeah, really nice looking player. Great to see him get out to SLU on campus and get that offer. I like this one.
No matter how many times the Billikens will let us down, there is one thing that will not let us down. Pete, what is that?
That would be two men in a garden, Zach. And I'm getting to the point where I've had a lot of the pickles lately. I've been on the 2 minute a garden pickle kick forever. I'm gonna get more salsa jars back in my fridge though. Buying them at Schnucks and bringing them to my family's Thanksgiving in St. Louis a couple weeks ago kind of has me jonesing for a fix in my own house. So I'm gonna work on that order this week and get that sent out to me while the weather's not too bad. And yeah, you should do the same thing too. Head over to twomeninthegarden.com, $9.99 nationwide shipping. Mix up I normally do 6 jars, Zach, and I think other people should try the same. Do 6, do a little bit of a sampler. I think you're really gonna like their stuff. Again, $9.99 nationwide shipping, twomeninthegarden.com for all of your salsa and pickle needs.
Pete, let's talk women's basketball. And the Billikens got a much needed um, kind of get right game against
Yeah.
a bad Ohio University Bobcats team on Sunday the 15th. 96-52. This one had to feel good, no matter who you're playing.
No, yeah, they needed this one. It does pain me a little, Athens, Ohio being one of my favorite towns. I do kind of have a little, they're not like by any means a major rooting interest, but I do like the Bobcats. Look, we said the schedule would get easier going into conference play with the last few games at home. This was the first of those games after a whole week off to regroup. It's the most points they've scored this season, Zach, 96, and the fewest points, 52, that they've allowed this year. They had 6 people in double figures, which included Peyton Kennedy scoring 25 to move into 10th place on SLU's all-time scoring list. She was by far the leading scorer in this game. But we should also mention that Ken Calhoun had 3 assists to move into 10th place on SLU's all-time assist list. So they're quickly moving up the ranks there, and I'm sure they're going to move a lot farther up into the top 10 over the course of this season. But we had 4 others in double figures to make it 6 total for the first time in 2 years, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's one name I'm not seeing here, by the way. It's Mia Bergstrom. Not.
She's a little bit further down.
Oh, did I miss that?
You got them all in one line
Oh,
there.
I got you. Yeah. Did we mention Kennedy Calhoun as well?
We did mention Calhoun,
Okay.
but Tierra Simon's next up on the list.
Yeah, she had a double-double with 11 points and 12 rebounds. Brooklyn Gray, 1 assist shy of a triple-double with 10 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. Both the rebound and assist numbers career highs for her. Pete, Anumale, Bergstrom, and Shavers all got into double figures.
13, 12, and 10. And then you had Rita Nazario with her first career points at the free throw line. SLU held Ohio to just 18 points in the first half, 9 in each quarter. They out rebounded the Bobcats at 57 to 33, which is like, I mean, that's the thing that has been kind of their Achilles heel for a lot of the year. You felt like Tierra Simon just didn't have any help. Stu even wrote a piece on that this week, talking to Tillett about what they're going to do about rebounding, and certainly they shored that up in this game. They also forced 21 turnovers, coughed it up just 11 times. Ken Calhoun was hounding their point guard in this game. She was all over her, and as we'll talk about soon, she's got to keep that up this coming weekend. But this was just a dominant, balanced, all around performance. Really nothing negative to say here. Tons of positives. So great team effort. And this is where, I don't know, you hope the turning point in the season comes earlier than it did in the last couple of seasons. And maybe this is that kind of game, even if Ohio isn't the most formidable opponent on the schedule.
Very, very undisciplined defensively, I think. Not necessarily in fouling, and I think they did foul quite a bit, but just a lot of flying around, not really, playing positionally. So, yeah, not losing a lot of players, losing a lot of assignments anyway.
Yeah.
That Yeah, I think that's going to do it for that game. Let's look at what's coming next. Wednesday, the 18th, versus Valpo. Valpo's 4-5. Two of those wins coming against lower division opponents. They did just beat Western Michigan in their last game. They'll have 2 full weeks before playing SLU, which is preposterous.
I
Uh,
don't understand how that happens. I looked at that and like I had to look at it a couple times and on a couple different sites just to verify. But from December 4th to December 18th, they didn't play a game or don't play a game.
Leah Ernest averages 17-8 for them. They have another player, Nevaeh Jackson. Do you know that's heaven spelled backwards?
Yeah, I do. That's an unfortunate name trend of the early aughts
Yes, it is.
that she is
Um,
displaying there.
who scores just under 14 points per game. They don't get much outside of those two. They, if you lock them down, make it a long night for the Beacon Crusaders.
Did you
Whatever
know
they're.
that they were the Beacons now?
Yes, I did. I
I I
forget. I
I missed that.
forget, but I knew it, which is
Yeah.
of the trend of getting rid of problematic nicknames. How low was Crusaders on that list?
You should read
I
about the
mean, I think it was.
Crusades.
Oh no, I know,
Yeah.
but still, like, I mean, come on, it's below Fighting Irish. But I mean, it just to me, it felt like it was an overreach of like them being like, well, everybody's got to do it, and at first sign, like, how long did it take for Colonials to change? But Valpo was just like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's change from, and it's like that wasn't even that. It's lower than Colonials on the scale of things that are offensive. I feel.
Crusaders is one I just don't think people even think about.
Yeah,
They don't
it's
think about the Crusades
the name. The name
necessarily.
has
It was so
the
long ago.
Crusader has transitioned from what it meant to what it means now, which is just a sports team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's literally just a guy with a sword. I don't know, but
I
of the names, I felt
yeah,
like that one just didn't need to be taught. Like you go ahead if you want at your university, but
there's a lot of
save your money.
I think there's a lot of high school Crusaders out there. I feel
Yes,
like there were always
yes,
yeah. Anyway, I just my main takeaway there is I had totally missed that they
mm.
did that.
They did that. Like, I think it happened. Let's see, when did they change it?
flew under the radar
I
for
want to
me.
say, uh, the let's see, 2000. No, let's see, in 2021.
21. Okay. All
Yes,
right. Yeah, I missed it. The shame on me. I should know that by now, but I
but
haven't thought
like
about
this is
Valpo much in recent
it's
years.
one of those where they come out. Well, it probably with the SLU being terrible, we didn't play them. But like negative connotation and violence associated with the Crusader imagery, and because of its use by certain hate groups, I wouldn't even know that hate groups used the Crusader if you didn't if you didn't say that, I
That's
wouldn't know.
interesting.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't know either.
yeah, that's not part of the quote, but that's like an and as well.
Right.
Um, but I guess negative connotation and violence associated with the Crusader imagery is the main takeaway, which okay. I mean, the Knights,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, we're going to get rid of Knights. Okay, let's get rid of, I don't know, Viking. Well, we probably should get rid of Vikings, but that's not the point. Yeah, anyway, I don't know. Get rid of animals because they can be violent when they attack. I don't know. I'm just being obtuse now. Saturday, the 21st against Bellarmine. Speaking of Knights,
I know. I had perfect timing, Zach.
they should really change their name to the Bells. The Bellarmine Bells.
I think not, I don't know if Knights like automatically have a negative
Yeah, I don't.
connotation.
To me, they don't.
They're defending the crown,
I think
right?
of Heath Ledger and Martin Lawrence.
There you go. I mean, two very similar
Yeah. Well,
actors.
have you never seen Black Knight? If you've never seen Black Knight,
I've never seen Black Knight.
it is a Martin Lawrence movie.
I've seen the
It's
one with Heath Ledger though.
Yeah, it's definitely a Martin Lawrence movie. I'll tell you that. That I can
Gotcha.
tell you about it. Bellarmine much improved after last season, 9-3, coming off a blowout loss to Indiana. I feel like Bellarmine's always put good women's teams on the floor in sports, whether that be in lower division or not.
Yeah, their net rating was pretty bad last year, but it seems pretty clear that they're a much improved team
Yeah.
this season. Um, for sure. They haven't played the toughest schedule. They do have a common opponent in Ohio, which Bellarmine beat by 32. So if SLU beat them by
Fit,
44, then I think we
fit,
should feel pretty good, right?
yeah, I think so. I think the transitive property absolutely works in this moment.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah.
more depth and balance than Valpo, though. Pretty strong top six. They're a very good 3-point shooting team, not great inside. Lock down the perimeter, um, and get what you can inside. But I think you win this one.
Yeah, I think so too. Yep.
Women's soccer has an incoming transfer. We got the official word. Emma Parker is the mystery commit, and this certainly seems like Katie Shields shoring up that goalkeeper spot.
Yeah, and local talent, right? Local talent that got away, and now we're getting them back. She only played her freshman season at Arkansas, and probably looked around and didn't like her spot on the depth chart going forward. So she will have 3 years of eligibility remaining. She's from Eureka and went to Eureka High School. Played her club ball for St. Louis Scott Gallagher Navy ECLNL. She's listed at just over 6 feet, so she's got good size, and she comes from a really athletic family. Her dad pitched for Arkansas, was drafted by the Cubs, and actually also played in the Cardinals organization. Her mom cheered at Arkansas. Her younger sister appears to be a solid volleyball recruit, from what her bio, or from what Emma's bio said. And then Emma actually also played golf and ran track in high school, and was a volleyball player, but stopped to focus more on soccer. So it seems like she could have gone D1 in like one of three different sports, depending on what she decided to pursue. Because I think she
Must
was
be
like an
nice.
all district golfer back-to-back years, and yeah, like a really
Wait,
big time volleyball
wait,
player.
hold on. Is this Patrick Schulte? Is Patrick Schulte in drag?
I
Is this
didn't.
Patrick Schulte in
I
drag?
don't think he's a volleyball player too, though. So
I mean, apparently, according to uh, everybody I talk to, Patrick Schulte is just good at everything. Like he's that kind of guy that'll pick up
mm,
a thing and just excel at it. So
you gotta hate those kind
I
of
can't,
guys,
I
right?
can't, I can't exclude volleyball and women's soccer from things he might be good at.
We don't know for sure. We can't say for sure, but I wanna make this about Emma because I
Yes,
think she's a great get
it'll
for
be
this
interesting
program.
to see if who they go with.
Right, her or Karani, or
Yeah.
maybe a
Well,
goalkeeper
Wolterman
by
left,
Wolterman's gone.
so
Yeah,
we're still missing one.
I think they've got an incoming
Okay.
freshman keeper though,
Okay.
so they'll have three on the roster.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, Zach. I mean, I think she's a nice get. I got to assume she and Karani are gonna compete for that number one spot. But yeah, you gotta like the profile here anyway. And I know Shields and her staff have mentioned before they really like multi-sport athletes, and she's nothing if not that.
Some sad news on the men's soccer side, Pete. I'll let you, the more not slapstick member of this podcast, handle this one.
Yeah, Zach, that's SLU legend Pat McBride died on December 11th at the age of 81. He played for SLU from 1963 to 65, winning national championships in his first and third seasons there with the Billikens. Two-time All-American in 64 and 65, National Soccer Hall of Fame, Billiken Hall of Fame, SLU All-Century Team. He's still fifth in program history in points, third in assists, seventh in goals. He played professionally with the St. Louis Stars and then actually captained the USMNT for a bit. Coached for the Steamers, St. Louis Steamers, the Kansas City Comets, SIUE, and then a couple local community college teams. People in my generation, Zach, who grew up in St. Louis, probably remember him most from his soccer camps. I don't know if I ever went to one, but I know my brother went to a couple. of his soccer camps. So that's how I mostly knew the name Pat McBride growing up. But yeah, he was legendary for those camps, man. But yeah, it's a sad day because he's a legend. He's a local soccer legend. One of those guys who you just can't think of St. Louis soccer without him coming up immediately in the people you think of. And it's true at the youth, high school, college, and professional level. He is just St. Louis soccer from top to bottom. And yeah, he'll definitely be missed. Really a SLU legend.
Um, Max Floriani, one of 44 college players invited to the Adidas MLS College Showcase held December 11th through the 14th in San Diego. San Diego will be this year's expansion team. Their expansion draft was on the 11th. City fans will notice they selected Jose Kojima. Not that that matters
Yeah.
to our show. MLS Super Draft will be on December 20th. Kevin Kalish will be one of the coaches participating in the event as a coach at the combine. So
Yep.
yeah, it'll be it's good. It's good to have Kevin Kalish on that stage. Shame on our friend Carter Chapley for releasing Kip Keller. But he was picked up by Minnesota United in stage 1 of the MLS reentry draft on Friday, whatever the hell that means.
The MLS roster and transaction rules are so convoluted that I don't even bother trying to understand what's going on.
What you have to, Pete, what you have to understand is that the rules are made up and the points don't matter. Only that Lionel Messi wins games.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of that going on. Yeah, sure. I don't know why it's so complicated. I know it's kind of confounding sometimes to the international players who come over and their system. I'm not going to say it's simple and easy in other nations and other leagues. I know there are differences with each, but essentially you get the players you pay for, right? I mean, if you want to spend so much on a player, you can, and over here there's just rules on rules on rules to kind of protect owners. And I don't know. We'll see how that evolves, but nonetheless, I hope Kip Keller gets a good, legit shot with Minnesota.
Yeah. Run us down indoor track and field for the week.
Yeah, so on Friday the 13th at the Indiana Early Bird Meet, Journey Admonson set 2 school records on the women's side, 6.03 meters in the long jump, surpassing Brittany Cloudy's previous
One
record.
of my contemporaries.
That's right, 5.82 meters. So she beat it by quite a bit. Impressive.
And that's a long-standing record in the long jump.
Yeah. 12 and a half meters even in the triple jump, beating Katie Wissing's mark of 12.41 meters. And then on the men's side, Tristan Boatman also broke a school record, throwing 16.09 meters in the shot put, beating Brett Kowalczyk's previous record of 15.85. So another one beat by a fair amount there, Zach. And he's the transfer from Troy, who had a good start to his season and is already breaking records. So
all I hear is Boatman, and I think of Boatman's Bank with that bald-headed dude doing the commercial.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah,
I can think about. Yeah.
I worked for Bank of America for a couple of years in the old Boatman's building downtown. Legacy, the B of A bought Boatman's, right?
Yeah.
So it was those a lot of legacy Boatman employees and all that kind of stuff. So
That's funny.
Yeah. Good old Boatman's Bank. I love those commercials.
They got kind of a packed schedule. It seems like there's many more events on the track and field calendar than there used to be.
Yeah, there really are. They stretch out the season all year long for those who run cross country as well. But yeah, it goes on now. They don't have anything until January 17th at Mizzou for the Missouri Showdown. So they've got to stay sharp, but they don't have any competition for a full 5 weeks here. And then Zach, we got some swimming and diving results.
Yeah, the Billikens competed at the U.S. Open Championships December 4th through the 7th in Greensboro, North Carolina. Bray Sanchez finished 13 of 50 first, 13 of 51 swimmers in the prelims, and 7th in the B finals of the 100-meter breaststroke. His best time was 54:34. He also competed at the 200 breast, swimming 2:04.26. Jedrick Gamilla, Colton Mosley, Drayton Bieber also swam in individual events and in relays with Sanchez. Sounds like Bray Sanchez is kind of the talisman on this roster this year. January 18th at Omaha will be the next one. Pete, that's going to do it for us.
Yeah, that's it, Zach. Interesting week to not have any basketball until Sunday, and then we had 2 back-to-back games, and then we had to record on top of it. So a very strange flow to this week.
And we mailed it in just like the team.
Just the first half, though, right?
Yes, just the first half. They had us in the first half, not gonna lie.
That's right.
All right, Pete. Go Bills.
Go Bills.